Sometimes it's not one single mistake that leads to disaster. Maybe it was the quiet confidence that blinded him. Maybe it was the subtle signs he didn't see. Or maybe the Komodo dragon had already decided long before Elliot Monroe stepped into its domain. Elliot sought to live alongside a creature forged in ancient wilderness. But deep within that suburban home, something primal waited. And in just moments, what seemed like control turned into a savage, silent nightmare. This is the devastating story of Elliot Monroe and his fateful encounter with the wild, untamable force he brought home. What happens when a man tries to tame one of the world's deadliest predators inside his own home? Elliot Monroe's passion for exotic reptiles took a deadly turn, one that shocked a quiet Texas neighborhood and rattled the nation. Today, we dive deep into the chilling true story of a Komodo dragon attack that changed everything. Stay with us as we uncover the warning signs, the tragedy, and the lessons no one can afford to ignore. Elliot Monroe, at 59 years old, was far from your typical Texan suburbanite. While his neighbors fussed over manicured lawns and bickered about local zoning laws, Elliot was cultivating a very different kind of garden, one filled with exotic, dangerous creatures that few dared to approach. To many, he was a figure shrouded in mystery, a man whose passion for wildlife extended far beyond common pet ownership. Rather than roses or shrubs, Elliot's backyard was home to a menagerie of reptiles, creatures that most people would only ever glimpse behind glass walls in zoos or through nature documentaries on television. His fascination with these creatures was anything but a passing interest. It was a lifelong journey, sparked by a childhood immersed in books and documentaries about the world's most extraordinary reptiles. From a young age, Elliot dreamed of jungles, rainforests, and the raw power of untamed wilderness. He started his collection modestly, caring first for snakes and smaller lizards. But over the decades, his passion and expertise grew exponentially, driving him toward more ambitious and dangerous companions. His home was outfitted with some of the most advanced reptile enclosures imaginable, climate-controlled and designed to mimic natural habitats as closely as possible. Friends often said Elliot was meticulous to the point of obsession, his knowledge of diets, behaviors, and environmental needs nothing short of encyclopedic. Professionally, Elliot was a man of quiet intellect and precision. A former engineer with a reputation for detail-oriented work, he applied those same exacting standards to his unique hobby. These animals weren't mere pets to him. They were living puzzles, evolutionary masterpieces that fascinated him with their ancient instincts and subtle behaviors. Over time, he forged what he believed was a deep bond, especially with his larger reptiles, sensing moods and emotions in ways most people couldn't imagine. He took pride in what he thought was a mutual understanding, a connection between human and beast that transcended the ordinary. But this bond was fragile, and it would be tested beyond measure. Elliot's friends and family sometimes found his dedication puzzling, yet they admired his unwavering commitment to his passion. To them, he was a pioneer, an explorer navigating the wild frontier within the walls of his suburban home. And in this personal wilderness, one creature reigned supreme. It wasn't a lion or a tiger, but something far older and more primal, a Komodo dragon. This male measured an astonishing 11 feet long and weighed close to 150 pounds, a behemoth of scaled muscle and ancient power. To truly grasp the danger Elliot lived with, one must understand the Komodo dragon. These are not mere lizards. They are the largest living reptiles on the planet, apex predators indigenous to a few remote Indonesian islands. Their existence is a testament to survival and adaptation, forged by millennia in unforgiving landscapes. Muscular and agile, they possess an intelligence that is both chilling and mesmerizing. Their skin is armored, rough as ancient stone, while their eyes carry a cold, calculating gaze that speaks of lethal intent. But their threat goes beyond appearance. Hidden within those jaws is a biological weapon designed for devastation. Komodo dragons have rows of serrated teeth resembling tiny shark teeth, perfect for slicing through flesh. For years, scientists believed the danger of their bite came solely from harmful bacteria in their saliva. More recent studies, however, reveal they possess venom glands that inject a potent cocktail of toxins. This venom acts as a powerful anticoagulant, rapidly dropping blood pressure, causing massive internal bleeding, and ultimately leading to shock. A single bite can doom even prey much larger than the dragon itself. These predators use a deadly hunting strategy. They strike swiftly, delivering a venomous bite, then patiently stalk the injured victim for miles until the poison claims its victim. Once the prey collapses, the Komodo dragon feeds with chilling efficiency, starting with soft tissues and rarely wasting a morsel. While they will scavenge, they are also fierce hunters, capable of sudden bursts of speed and tremendous strength. They are not domesticated animals. They embody raw, untamed nature, scaled, venomous, and utterly unforgiving. Held captive behind the walls of a quiet Texas neighborhood. Though Elliot's dedication to his reptiles was undeniable, keeping such a dangerous beast in a private home was a gamble with fate. It was not a question of if something would go wrong, but when. Early warning signs often begin with small, overlooked incidents, moments that hint at deeper dangers lurking beneath calm surfaces. Rumors circulated of minor bites dismissed as playful, or sudden lunges narrowly avoided. Perhaps the dragon tested the limits of its enclosure, thudding its powerful tail against glass or wire with an ominous rhythm. Maybe Elliot misread subtle signals, the narrowing of eyes, the flicker of a forked tongue, that signaled hunger rather than curiosity. The mental strain of constantly managing such a dangerous animal cannot be overstated. Every interaction demanded absolute focus. One lapse, one misjudged distance, one distracted moment could prove fatal. The larger the creature and the older its instincts, the more precarious the situation. Komodo dragons are not pets with affection or loyalty. Their world is ruled by primal urges. Hunt, kill, survive. When the opportunity arises, they act without hesitation or remorse. Over time, a false sense of security often creeps in. Years of handling success can breed dangerous complacency, blurring the lines between respect and recklessness. Then came October 18, 2019, a crisp autumn morning in Colony, Texas. The day began like any other, filled with the quiet promise of the weekend. Elliot entered the room housing his enormous Komodo dragon, likely for routine care or feeding. Neighbors heard no screams or struggle, only the ordinary sounds of suburban life, unaware that tragedy was unfolding behind those walls. The aftermath revealed the horrifying truth. The medical examiner's report described jagged, serrated wounds to the neck, unmistakably inflicted by the dragon's razor-sharp teeth. This was no playful nip. It was a swift, brutal attack, an ancient predator unleashed in a moment of deadly violence. Imagine the sudden shock, the searing pain, the overwhelming force of 150 pounds of pure reptilian muscle. The initial strike was a flash of terror, jaws clamping down with crushing power, teeth tearing flesh with primal ferocity. Komodo dragons don't just bite, they rip and thrash, their powerful neck muscles maximizing damage with terrifying efficiency. The venom from the Komodo dragon's bite began its deadly work almost immediately, setting off a cascade of physiological havoc within Elliot Monroe's body. His blood pressure plummeted rapidly, the world around him started to blur, and a crushing wave of weakness swept through him like an unstoppable tide. The vital force that had fueled him began draining away with terrifying speed. Inevitably, he collapsed, the fall knocking his head hard against the floor. An injury noted in police reports as secondary but significant, compounding the already catastrophic assault. This was no mere accident. It was the terrifying convergence of ancient biological weaponry and human vulnerability. As Elliot lay stunned and disoriented, the venom coursing through his veins, the reality of the situation deepened. The medical reports later revealed a horrifying fact. Parts of Elliot Monroe's body had been consumed by the very creature he had spent years nurturing and studying. This was not just an attack born out of instinctual defense. It was a calculated act of predation. In the ruthless logic of the Komodo dragon, a wounded and incapacitated prey becomes nothing more than a meal. The chilling silence that must have filled the room was intermittently shattered by the wet, tearing sounds of flesh being torn apart, a brutal reminder of nature's unforgiving rules. Eventually, Elliot's ragged breaths faded into silence. The cold eyes of the Komodo dragon, reflecting the grim finality of the moment. This ancient predator, driven by survival instincts honed over millennia, had simply done what it was born to do. Later that day, a close friend, worried by Elliot's sudden silence and lack of contact, arrived at his home on Longhorn Drive, only to uncover the nightmare hidden behind suburban normalcy. The quiet street, lined with manicured lawns and familiar faces, masked the horrifying scene within. An unthinkable tragedy etched in blood and scales. Stepping inside, the friend was met with an atmosphere thick with an almost metallic, coppery scent. The unmistakable odor of blood. There, in the dim room where Elliot had so often cared for his collection, lay the lifeless form of the man who had dared to tame the wild. And nearby, the Komodo dragon, motionless yet ominously present, like a living monument to the tragedy. The friend's shock turned to immediate action, making a frantic 911 call that shattered the afternoon calm and summoned an unusual emergency response. The Colony Police Department, local fire rescue paramedics, and animal control officers converged rapidly, the latter bringing specialized skills for handling dangerous exotic creatures. The scene was unprecedented for a quiet residential neighborhood. An intricate and perilous dance between human responders and a venomous reptile, potentially still agitated from its recent meal. The first responders approached the home with extreme caution, fully aware that any misstep could trigger further disaster. Inside, investigators began meticulously documenting the scene. Every bloodstain, torn fabric, and wound was recorded, vital clues piecing together the terrifying sequence of events. Veteran officers and paramedics, hardened by years of service, found themselves deeply unsettled by the raw brutality before them. This was no typical accident scene. The presence of a Komodo dragon, creatures usually confined to secure zoos or wildlife reserves, made the situation uniquely dangerous. Animal control officers trained in managing such perilous animals faced the daunting task of subduing an 11-foot, 150-pound lizard that was highly venomous and potentially unpredictable after feeding. Every move was precise and deliberate, the air thick with tension as they worked to secure and transport the reptile without further incident. Meanwhile, Elliot Monroe's body was carefully removed, shrouded respectfully, and transported to the Tarrant County Medical Examiner's office for a thorough autopsy. The friend who discovered the scene was later interviewed, their trauma and grief evident in every word. Neighbors watched from behind closed doors, whispering in disbelief as emergency vehicles lined the street, unable to grasp the terrifying reality that had unfolded so close to their peaceful homes. Initial confusion gave way to clarity as autopsy results confirmed the grim truth. The medical examiner's report was stark and chilling. The cause of death was the serrated bite wounds to Elliot's neck, inflicted by the Komodo dragon's razor-sharp teeth, and the manner of death ruled an accident. This was no simple fall or secondary injury. It was a brutal, fatal attack by a living predator. The confirmation that parts of Elliot's body had been consumed sealed the horrifying nature of the incident. The news spread rapidly, first through Colony, then across Texas, and soon captured national attention. Headlines screamed of a man killed by his pet Komodo dragon, igniting shock, disbelief, and morbid fascination. Local news crews descended on Longhorn Drive, their cameras capturing the manicured lawns and quiet streets, a stark contrast to the primal violence that had erupted within one of the homes. Neighbors who had once been unaware of Elliot's exotic collection expressed a mixture of fear, sorrow, and curiosity. Some questioned the wisdom of housing such dangerous animals in residential areas, while others debated whether such creatures could ever be considered pets at all. The incident ignited fierce debate across social media platforms and news outlets nationwide. Animal rights activists decried the practice of private ownership of exotic and dangerous animals, pointing to Elliot Monroe's tragic death as a heartbreaking example of the risks involved. Calls for stricter regulations or outright bans on the private keeping of Komodo dragons, large constrictors, alligators, and venomous reptiles in residential settings intensified. After the tragedy, online forums and social media exploded with heated debates. Some passionately defended the rights of private individuals to own exotic animals, arguing for personal freedom and choice. Others demanded stricter laws and greater public safety measures, fearful of the risks posed by dangerous creatures living so close to everyday neighborhoods. Meanwhile, Elliot Monroe's family and friends were left grappling with a grief so profound it defied words, an agony intensified by the harsh glare of public scrutiny and the unsettling details of his final moments that became impossible to ignore. Their mourning was private but painfully public, a collision of personal loss and widespread fascination that only deepened their sorrow. Legally, while no criminal charges were filed, the aftermath focused intensely on what would become of Elliot's exotic collection. Animal control officers carefully removed the Komodo dragon, along with the other reptiles and creatures, from his home. These animals were unlikely to return to private ownership. Instead, they were destined for specialized sanctuaries or accredited zoos equipped to handle their immense power, unique biological needs, and unpredictable behaviors. Such environments provide the rigorous safety and containment standards that suburban homes simply cannot match. This was never about blaming the animals. Rather, it was a necessary measure to protect public safety and ensure the welfare of the creatures themselves, who require expert care in facilities designed specifically for their species. Elliot Monroe's tragic story sent ripples through legislative halls and community forums alike, a potent reminder of the razor-thin line between human ambition and the relentless forces of nature. Agencies quietly reviewed permitting processes and regulatory frameworks, pushing for reforms aimed at preventing a recurrence of such devastating events. In many ways, Elliot's story is a haunting parable, a vivid narrative about the complex and often fraught relationship between humans and the wild creatures they seek to control. Though Elliot was widely regarded as an experienced and dedicated handler, a man who genuinely believed he understood the behaviors and needs of his charges, even his considerable expertise could not override nature's unyielding laws. The Komodo dragon, in its primal innocence, was simply following instincts honed over millions of years. It saw an opportunity, and with neither malice nor regret, it acted decisively. This brutal reality reminds us all that no matter how advanced our enclosures become, no matter how deep our research or how strong our bonds seem, there exist animals whose very essence is untamed. Their strength is ancient, their instincts uncompromising, and their true home is in the wild. For Elliot Monroe, in that quiet house nestled within Colony, Texas, the fragile barrier between human control and natural power finally shattered, unleashing a visceral, sobering lesson. Sometimes, the most dangerous act is inviting the wild inside. And when that ancient force answers the call, its embrace may be the last we ever feel. Elliot Monroe's story is a haunting reminder that some forces of nature are never meant to be contained. These magnificent creatures carry instincts older than humanity itself, and when underestimated, their power can be devastating. As much as we admire and respect wildlife, we must also respect their boundaries. Keeping dangerous animals in private homes isn't just risky, it can be deadly, not only for the owners, but for entire communities. This tragedy calls for greater awareness and responsibility when it comes to interacting with wild animals. It's a call to protect these incredible species, not by captivity, but by preserving their natural habitats and respecting their wild nature. If we learn anything from Elliot's fate, it's that true safety comes from understanding and caution, not control. Please share this story to raise awareness and help prevent future tragedies. And remember, the wild deserves our respect, our care, and our protection. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to subscribe for more real-life animal encounters and lessons from the natural world.